Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel, The Bookworm, where we discuss writing, story crafting, the creative process, and various aspects thereof. My name is Guy Estes, and I am The Bookworm. Today's topic, the dreaded strong female protagonist. This actually happens to be my favorite type of character, so why do I say dreaded? Well, a lot of writers, particularly male writers, tend to struggle with this character. This is something I see a lot on a lot of message boards and other writers groups that I'm either part of or I lurk on and see what's going on there. I see a lot of male writers really struggle with this. How do you write a good, strong female protagonist? It strikes me as particularly odd when this is coming from writers of fantasy, where we don't hesitate to flesh out non-human characters, elves, dwarves, fairies, dragons, pixies, whatever. You know, fill in your creature of choice. We'll completely flesh those characters out. And yet when it comes to a female human, we start tripping all over ourselves. And it just always struck me as very odd as to why that is. Well, why that is, I'll get into here in a little bit. First, I think we need to define exactly what we mean by strong female protagonist. So first, it does not necessarily have to mean physically strong, physically powerful, although that is my personal favorite variety of that character. I am firmly convinced the only thing cooler than a warrior chick is a warrior chick with a dragon. But that's just me. It doesn't have to be that way. Examples of this. The actress Linda Hunt portrays a lot of characters like this. She is not a physically imposing person, very small build, at least the roles I've seen her in. She was later on in years, so not a physically imposing person, but she tended to play a lot of characters who had very strong convictions, a very strong, solid moral center, the type of character that surrounding characters tended to look to, tended to anchor themselves to when everything's getting crazy and getting nuts. Her character was the one that they could look to and see she was still standing steady, standing strong, even though she's 4 foot whatever, and see, okay, everything's okay. I think the actress just has a face that just naturally conveys that, but she tends to play a lot of characters like that. First thing I saw her in was the Western Silverado. She was the saloon keeper Stella. She wasn't a gunslinger or anything like that, but she was kind of the moral center for a lot of the characters there. She was in Kindergarten Cop. She played the school principal who was riding her on Arnold Schwarzenegger, for heaven's sake. Again, not a physically imposing person, but she could keep the reins on him. Princess Leia, I could kind of maybe put into that category as well. Now, granted, she had her physical aspect. She could handle a blaster as well as anybody. She strangled Jabba the Hutt to death. She received Jedi training. But most of her character, Princess Leia and then later General Leia, was as that strong leader. Again, that moral center, that anchor that everyone else could look to, that fixed point that everyone could look to and kind of anchor themselves to and say, oh, okay, yeah, things are crazy, but they could look to her and know that we're going to make it, everything's all right. So again, they're not really physically imposing people, but still very strong people. There are characters who start out as ordinary people, become strong people. Sarah Connor being a character like that. Ellen Ripley, probably your 2 textbook examples of that, who start out as normal, ordinary people, but have to become these physically powerful people because their survival requires it. So there's different varieties there. Again, my personal favorite is the warrior chick. I freely admit that. But it doesn't have to be that way, given the, the examples that I've given. So, why do writers have so much trouble writing these characters. And again, I base this on how often I see this question come up in discussion boards and chat rooms and things like that with writers. It is a staple question that comes up so often, which again I always found rather puzzling. I think there are several reasons for this, and where they tend to go wrong with these characters. A very common error in writing these characters is they have to make sure that the audience knows that this is a strong female protagonist and never forgets. So they focus entirely on that aspect of that character, and what you end up with is a very one-dimensional, flat, and often rather unlikable character. What I would classify as the cast iron bitch. Okay, strong female protagonist does not equal cast iron bitch. The same way strong male protagonist does not equal arrogant prick. Okay, you can have these strong protagonists and they don't have to be jerks. You can make them good people. Not that hard. Just look at different aspects of their character. Another common error that I see, one that I find particularly infuriating, is something that tvtropes.org, one of my favorite websites, calls the faux action girl, meaning this female character is billed as this action girl, this very capable person. Maybe they even do a few things to demonstrate that, but when push comes to shove, they get captured, they get caught, and then the guy's got to come rescue them. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's one of my little red buttons. That one just kind of irks me. Classic example of that, the Drizzt Do'Urden stories by R.A. Salvatore. For the most part, I enjoyed. And I don't remember which book this was in. There have been so many of them, but Caddy Bree was the action girl in there, and I liked her. I liked the character. She gets captured by the assassin, Artemis Entreri. Now, okay, as much as I love Caddy Bree, in a fight against Artemis Entreri, she wouldn't have stood a chance. Artemis was probably the only human in that entire series who actually posed a credible threat to Drizzt in a stand-up fight. He was an A1 badass, totally beyond anything Caddy Bree could have handled in a fight. I get that, I accept that. She didn't even try to escape. It's as soon as she fell into his clutches, she becomes this helpless wet noodle, and the guy's got to come rescue her. And that irked me. That bothered me. And I think one of the reasons male authors, again, obviously a female author's not going to have any problem writing this. This is the purview, I think, particularly of male authors. Their particular little stumbling block for them is, I think they struggle with how to write a female character in general, really. And you'll see things on the internet about this. I had seen a series of memes on this that were funny because they were true. They were all excerpts of guys writing female characters. Very, very cringeworthy, and you'll see jokes about it, where they'll describe a passage as she got out of bed and went down the stairs to breakfast in her filmy white negligee, her pink nipples showing through as her boobs bounced boobily. That's an exaggeration, but only a very, very slight one. There is actual writing out there that is that cringeworthy, if not even worse, if you can believe that. And I think these writers that I'm seeing in these message boards and chat groups, they don't want to fall into those particular pitfalls and things like that. So all of these issues, the cringeworthy writing, the faux action girl, the one-dimensional character, it's my opinion that all of these pitfalls can be avoided simply by writing the character. So a little sub question that'll pop up on this a lot of times is, well, would a woman do this? Would a woman do that? What would a typical... I don't know. Obviously, I haven't gone through life as a woman. What do I know what the typical woman would do? Whatever that is. I don't know. I know what this character would do. I created this character. I know this character better than anybody. I know exactly what he or she will do in a particular situation. So while I don't know what the typical person would do, I know what my character is going to do. And I think I don't really know how to put it other than fleshing the character out the way you would others. So that cringy little example I gave of the woman skipping down to the stairs to her breakfast, her boobs bouncing boobly, oh, okay, yeah. The problem the male writer had there was, okay, he's picturing this, well, he's picturing a woman through the male gaze. Well, you can't look at it through that lens. You have to write this character. You have to write this scene from that character's perspective. Okay, getting up and going to breakfast, that's a universal experience that everybody has. What do I do on a typical morning? Everybody has their morning rituals. What's mine? Okay, I wake up. I get out of bed, I get my clothes, I go to the bathroom, I wash up, I dress, I come back to the bedroom, put my shoes on, go to the kitchen, turn on the laptop, get my coffee, get my breakfast, laptop's warmed up, start going through my email. Okay, that's my typical morning ritual. And again, everybody has that, so using that when you're writing this scene, as well as other aspects of it, that, you know, again, fleshing this character out. Just because this character is a strong female protagonist doesn't mean they don't have their moments of weakness. All human beings do. What I think is a textbook example of how some of these strong characters should be written, again, even if this individual is a warrior, the Wonder Woman movies, I think, textbook example on how that character should be done. She's a powerful warrior. She's an A1 badass, goes head to head with all these other badasses and defeats them in battle. Push comes to shove, she'll kill. But she also has compassion and idealism, and you know, that's one of the things I liked in the first movie, was she goes into it as this total idealist. By the end of it, she hasn't become a jaded, cynical washout, burnout, but her idealism has been tempered to some degree with a little bit of realism as well, but she still holds on to those ideals. You know, I find that very relatable, and I think a very realistic character. In the second one, when she's fighting Cheetah, she doesn't want to kick Cheetah's ass. She knows where Cheetah, or Barbara Minerva, she knows where she's coming from. She sympathizes with her. Even though Diana Prince is a badass Amazon princess, she's also a person of compassion. And in addition to her idealism and her sense of her, she is a well-rounded, fully fleshed out character, in other words. I think another good example, the TV show Castle, Detective Kate Beckett, played by Stana Katic, another very good example. She was this very capable detective in the New York Police Department, but she got stressed. She got in over her head a few times. There were times when she had to go home from work, have a drink, and a good cry, you know, like a normal person. I had mentioned earlier Sarah Connor and Ellen Ripley as examples of ordinary women who had to become physical badasses to survive. But while those experiences made them strong, tough badasses, it also traumatized them. And you see that in their characters. You see that these are badly wounded people, in addition to being very strong. And I think those are the things that make these characters so likable. Why people, male and female, love these characters. They're well-developed characters, regardless of what sex they are. A well-developed character is a well-developed character, and everybody likes that. So that's my advice. That's usually how I answer the question when I see it on these message boards, is simply write the character. Develop this character like you would any other. Just because they're strong doesn't mean they're not human, doesn't mean they don't have their moments. One of my other, my characters, obviously, I think I do a good job of writing, so, that's the way I do it. If I didn't think I did it well, I wouldn't write them that way, but my two flagship characters, Alina and Beja, very strong, very powerful, very capable, and yes, they too have been traumatized, and they're occasionally plagued with doubts. Several of the books in my Sisters of the Storm series is them having to come to grips with the fact that they do have limitations and they can't save everybody, and having to temper their expectations. And in fact, in the God Makers, that was one of the main themes they had to grapple with, was tremendous pressure they felt to perform, to uphold the honor and the legend of being the chosen, and all of this, and they had to realize the only ones putting that pressure on them was them. One of my other, in my Clan Agmarina series, one of my main characters there, Anna McGregor, pagan PI. And she too is a very strong and very capable character, but also wounded and has her issues that she has to deal with. And her lover, Ethan Malone, a strong and capable guy, but he too is wounded and has issues to deal with, and how they help each other, how she loves how he steps back and lets her handle things on her own. But just as much as that, she loves the fact that he wants to protect her and defend her and avenge her. But even though he knows she doesn't need him to do that, so he keeps his distance, but he wants to anyway. So even though she doesn't feel the need to be rescued, and she loves and appreciates him for not coming in to rescue her when they both know she doesn't need it, she also loves the fact that he wants to. And that he's got her back. So again, in my opinion, these are just properly fleshed out, rounded out characters. So how do you write a proper, strong female protagonist? Pretty much the same way you write any other character. Not that hard. If I can do it, how hard can it be, right? That was today's topic. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. If you liked and subscribed this, there will be further videos. I'll have in the comments links to my books, my Sisters of the Storm series. I'll have a link just to the entire series instead of each individual book, just to the Amazon, but they're also available through Smashwords and all of those outlets. And my Clan Agmarina series, although for now there's just the one book. I'm still working on the second one. I'm also going to have a link to my mother's book, Patchwork Hearts. Now, my mother writes very different fare than I do. I think more along the lines of Hallmark Channel type fare. I'm not really sure what you call the genre. Clean romance. There's clean romance aspect in there as well. But a Patchwork Hearts, again, good example of a strong female protagonist, not in the physical sense, but in that she has suffered loss and is healing and finding new friends while also dealing with new challenges and new threats. So I'll have those links in the description. Click on them. If you have read one of our books, do us a huge favor. Go to Amazon or wherever it is you get your books. Post a review. Reviews are kind of the bread and butter for promotional materials for us authors, especially us indie authors. So, thank you for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time. This is the Bookworm, Guy Estes, signing off.